Hi friends, hope you are doing fine. So today I'm going to discuss an important issue about the importance of soft skills in getting a job. And this came to me from a human resource director of a large multinational company who essentially pointed out to me that many of the engineers and scientists who are graduating from some of the elite institutions are very good in hard skills, but they are very weak in soft skills. So this is one of the reasons that they often do not hire them. They interview a huge amount of candidates and they select only a few of them. So this could be also the reason behind many of the rejections which are faced by many engineers, scientists, and people in general. So let's look at some of these soft skills which are critical for any real job. So the number one soft skill is communication, and essentially communication means both written and spoken communication. So very often when you are working in a company, you have to work in a team, and it's very rare that you get to work by yourself. And whenever you are working in a team, you need to discuss things with people in your team, and therefore you need to speak to them. And when you are speaking to them, you need to communicate your point of view very correctly. Now many times you have to just speak to them face to face or extempore, and sometimes you may also need to use some slides to make a presentation for your viewpoint. Sometimes you may be called upon to write a white paper on a subject, you may be asked to write a report on a subject, and so on. So in many cases these kind of communication skills become very important, because whatever you are doing in your mathematical formulation, in your experiments, in your coding is all fine, but at the end of the day you will have to communicate these through either PowerPoint slides or through some written document. So that's the number one skill, communication. The number two skill is listening, and this is very important because many a time people who are good at talking are not good at listening. So this is something which will help introverts in general, because they often feel that they are not very glib, they are not very good at talking, but it often happens that they may be good at listening, so they can counter some of their deficiencies as far as talking is concerned by listening better. And one of the ways to listen better is to actually now and then just summarize what the person has told you to him, and therefore by doing this you point out to that person that you have followed their viewpoint, you have grasped whatever they were telling you, and that you are listening properly. So very often you will see in meetings people are speaking but nobody is listening, and this is a huge problem, because a lot of the insight and creativity which is there in the introverted population in general is not being exploited in these scenarios. What is happening is that the glib people are essentially dominating the conversation. So listening is a very important skill. The third important skill is teamwork, and most of the big discoveries or the big designs which are going on in the world today are being done by teams, and therefore you will need to work in a team and work as part of a team. Now there was an example which was brought out to me about the importance of teamwork by a situation where, let's say, there is a certain star, and the star is extremely good at doing all kind of things, and there is a team which has 4 stars, and they are all essentially rowing a boat. Now there is one more team where there are 4 normal people, they are not stars, but these guys are also rowing a boat. Now what happens is that these two teams start rowing the boat at the same time, and there is a competition between them. But what's happening with the more normal team is that they are all rowing in the same direction, and what's happening in the team of 4 stars is that 3 guys are rowing in one direction, 1 guy is rowing in a different direction. Sometime it's shifting to 2 to 2, 2 are rowing in one direction, 2 are rowing in a different direction, and so on. So the example brought out to me through this lesson or toy example as far as management is concerned was that it's very important to actually have normal people who do teamwork, and no team should depend excessively on stars, and the presence of too many stars in a team can lead to situations like this where there is competition between the star. Each person is trying to show that they are the star, they are the prima donna or diva as the case may be, and therefore the team as such is not performing very well. So number 3 skill is teamwork. Now number 4 skill is leadership, and very often when we think of leadership, we may be thinking of CEOs, presidents and prime ministers of country, or generals of armies and so on. But the reality is leadership can be used at any level. And what is meant by leadership is that if you see a problem, you essentially try to take responsibility and suggest a solution. And in certain situations, people simply wait for the leader, who may be the manager, the professor, the department chair, the CEO, or the vice president, to come up with the solution. But actually what is expected more and more is that the solutions are brought out by the different people. There is a meeting, you all discuss the solution, and finally the best solution is selected. So leadership is important at every level, because in our complex society today, we cannot rely on only the top people to make all the important decisions. Secondarily, if you consider human beings in general, the generation of interesting concepts is not privy to any one person, and different people come up with good solutions at different point of time. So we need to consider that fact, and therefore leadership is something which every person needs to exercise. So number 4, leadership. Number 5 is empathy, and this essentially means that the person should be capable of seeing the viewpoint of somebody else by putting themselves in his or her shoes at any given point. And this is important because whenever you are in a team situation, you must realize there are right times to say things and there are wrong times to say things. So for example, if a colleague you are working with has got a severe disease or his relative has expired, that is not the time to pressure this person to perform more work at his desk and so on. So very often this is the case with many managers and unfortunately PhD supervisors, that they do not have empathy toward their subordinates. And this is a skill which is very important, because if you do not have this, you will progressively lose the support of your team, and also people will probably leave your group or your team as the case may be. So that's the number 5 skill, the empathy skill. Now number 6, which is the last skill on this list, is resilience. And resilience means the capability of bouncing back from a given situation. So this is very important, because whenever you make a decision, there are bound to be consequences, and in some cases the consequences are positive, but in some cases the consequences may be negative. For example, if you are a student who is giving exams, maybe you will get an A grade, but maybe you will get a C grade or a D grade. If you are a graduate student submitting a paper, maybe it will get through in a journal, maybe it will be rejected. 99% of the time you are going to get pretty harsh comments in the reviews. So if you apply for a large number of jobs, the situation may be that most of the companies will reject you, but there may be one company which may give you a job. So in all these cases, the probabilities of success are low, and therefore the important thing is to keep persisting whatever be the odds. And so to persist in the face of lot of adversities, we need this quality called resilience. Resilience also means that we must have the capacity to handle failure. If we fail, we continue on our path. And one of the important things I learned once from a movie is that somebody said that there are no last chances in life, there are only second chances and third chances and fourth chances. So you can continue trying to play the game, and sooner or later you are going to win. So this was my summary of some of the soft skills which are required whenever you are applying for a job. And it's important to develop these soft skills, because many of these soft skills do not grow when you are a typical engineering student. you are very much focused on solving differential equations or taking measurements or finding Laplace transforms and so on, and you may sometimes think that these are the beginning and end of your life, but unfortunately or fortunately they are not. So soft skills remain an important part, and most human resource departments of companies take a good look at the soft skill of the candidate. And if you see various interviews nowadays, you are asked less and less questions about your technical skills and more questions about your behavior pattern in different scenarios. So this style of interviewing has become more and more dominant. People figure out your technical skills through your resume, through your background checks, through your past work, through your CGPA and so on. And also of course they will ask you a few technical questions to see how you respond to them, but more importantly they want to check some of these factors: if you are capable of teamwork, if you are capable of leadership, empathy, and these things are going to be sometime the decision making factor as far as the recruiting decision is concerned. So I hope you enjoyed this video. Stay tuned to my channel. I will see you sometime soon. See you then.